Hello and welcome to a special bonus episode of My Hollywood Story. I'm Stacey Wilson Hunt. This episode, I hope, is going to be a treat for fans of Amy Sherman-Palladino and Daniel Palladino, who are, of course, the creators of Gilmore Girls, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and most recently, the ballet-themed dramedy Étoile, which, unfortunately, was canceled in June of 2025 after just one season. We recorded Amy and Dan's appearance on My Hollywood Story in early May in front of a live audience at Neuhaus Hollywood, and the episode premiered on July 1st. Following the completion of my interview with Amy and Dan, I invited select audience members to ask their own questions of the power couple. What follows are synopses of those questions and the Palladinos' previously unaired, and as always, very frank and funny, responses. Not surprisingly, the Neuhaus members who turned up for this event were not only passionate fans, but very invested in Amy and Dan's work and the future of creativity. Our first question came from a young man in the audience who asked Amy to reflect a bit on the role that anger has played in her life and work. Listen in as Amy talks about how she feels when she watches something that she wishes she'd written and how she tries to transform those moments into productive sessions at the computer.
I get mad that I didn't do something. Like if I see, like I watch Peaky Blinders, I'm like, fuck, why didn't I do fucking Peaky Blinders? Or I see things like that, and I'm like, ugh, that movie, I could have done that movie. Where the fuck was I? So I think anger at myself and the world
and dropping F-bombs
around
at
me.
yourself.
Well, you have to say, I have been so good this week. I have.
Today was actually the most expletive-free conversation I've had with you.
Thank you. I have been very ladylike this week. It's been a long time coming, so you get the fuck parade. But I think maybe it's just strong emotion. Maybe it's just making sure that you're not dead inside. And I get disappointed, and when I get disappointed and I want to quit and I want to cry and I want to yell, that's probably the best time to sit down at a computer and do something, maybe.
It's also because you care so much and you want to do so much, and maybe the frustration is there's never enough time. You have so much you want to do, and you're still a human being at the end of the day. That could be part of it.
Well, we'll debate that.
Our second question came from a woman who was curious to find out if there were any storylines for the 2006 Gilmore Girls reboot on Netflix that Amy and Dan had wanted to explore, but for whatever reason, didn't. Here's what they had to say.
Mrs. Kim was going to start a K-pop company.
Oh my God.
I wanted to do that
so
badly because I'm so obsessed
something.
with K-pop. I love it so much, and I'm just like it has stuck with me forever. It would have been
basically
best
she was
storyline.
going to get a couple of foreign exchange students coming over from Korea, and they were
for Bible reasons,
Bible study and for choir, and they were going to start off as like very, very demure choir girls, and then it was going to evolve over the 4 episodes into she basically realized they somehow became a K-pop
they become
band.
Blackpink basically, and I'm just like I'm so upset we didn't get to do that.
By the way,
this was
an amazing show unto itself. Yeah. So don't discount it.
The next question came from a woman who wanted to know how Amy being a dancer and Dan being a musician has affected their work and creative partnership. Funny enough, that's actually a question I've always wanted to ask them too. Have a listen.
I was told from the very, very beginning when people knew I was a musician and was writing, like that there was a rhythm. We each had it a little bit separately, and then when we started reading each other's stuff and got involved with each other, I think it also kind of like a little more common flow germinated. But there's definitely a musical sense. There's definitely a rhythm sense for her, for sure.
When I direct, I do this on stage constantly. I just can't stop moving. It makes everyone very nervous around me. But they've learned. Just give me enough space that I could do this.
It was pretty natural. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a musician, I'm going to try to add me. It was just very natural. And then we use a lot of music in our shows that we place personally. So yeah, it's a big part of what we do.
And certainly the camera work too. In Étoile, it feels like the whole thing is a choreography. Yeah. It's very impressive.
Our next question came from a Gilmore Girls superfan who said that she owns every DVD of the show and has watched the series over and over again with her aunt and her mom. They even watched it remotely together during COVID. She said she works in leadership development, and in thinking about the next generation of talent, she says she's noticed a lack of leadership in curating the next generation of creatives. She wondered aloud, is it the bottom line? Is it a lack of time? Or is it a lack of care? Here's what Amy and Dan had to say.
The system fell apart, like we were saying, like just from a writer's standpoint. I know less about the director's journey because mine again was, oh, by the way, you're directing next week, huh? But there used to be a system in place, and it was specifically to train writers, and where every show was supposed to give out 2 freelance scripts, and writers who were not on staff would come in and they would pitch, and you would hire outside writers, and sometimes those writers ended up on staff, or sometimes they didn't, but they sat in the writer's room. They learned to break stories. They were there for the whole production of their episode. So they got a training ground. That's gone. And I don't even remember when it went away, but it doesn't exist anymore. And
or the problem is we'll do a writer's room, but we contractually lose the writers before we even go into production. So when we were on these sitcoms that lasted 22 episodes, we saw the whole process. We were there in pre-production, writing. We were on stage. We were going to run-throughs. Editing was kind of always sort of the exclusive, like they edited it somewhere else. But young writers at staff writer level, story writer level, were able to really watch and observe. And it was a system where you weren't expected to pitch a lot of gold when you first started out. You were expected to learn, pipe in when you have something, but we may razz you. It was a hazing system, but it was a gentle hazing system. And it was like sort of comedy writing boot camp. And now, because they want all the scripts in advance and it's only 8 episodes, you literally lose your writers before you go into production. And we've run into, like, we've tried to keep these writers going, but it costs a lot of money and they fight us. But we even on a 12, we had people, someone at staff writer level. We had 2 people at story editor level because it was important. It's important to bring people in. We never did a mini room. You may have heard about it if you follow the
mini
business.
Rooms are.
We never did that. We were shocked when we heard how ubiquitous.
Devil's work.
Yeah, we were shocked when we heard how ubiquitous it was that showrunners at our level would just like bring 2 people on, spend 4 weeks working, and then drop those people and maybe not bring them on when the show got picked up, which is really, really unfair.
Our final question came from a woman who firstly thanked Amy and Dan for making, quote, talking fast a thing, as it was something that she's been made fun of for doing her whole life. She wanted to know, is it harder for them to make fewer episodes of TV for streamers than in the old system of making 22 episodes a year for a traditional network?
It's apples and oranges. I mean, the whole business right now is on fire and trying to figure out what it is. I think everybody knows that. Like, it's, the strike, the pandemic. It's like the streamers breaking it's like everything is not really working or jiving the way it needs to. It's all sort of like, I'll say at the time. Now that we are like at the streaming service, and they're starting to do things like, hey, wait a minute, we just don't know how to make money at this, which no one's ever known how to make money at this, which was the big joke about they all followed Netflix down the rabbit hole, but nobody was ever making any money. And then when they all realized we're not making any money, and then they all started panicking, and then they all started changing the way they were or trying to figure out how to make money. So now their big thing is we're going to put commercials in. It's like, Dan are like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. We left network television to be able to tell stories a certain way, and now you're becoming network television, but you're doing less episodes, which means everyone's making less money. It's what's happening here. So we're sort of like joking about like, well, no, do we go back to NBC? But like it's sort of this 22 episodes was so hard to do. But I believe that 22 episodes built a fan base that meant that people can still watch Gilmore Girls all these years later. Whereas I think it's going to be harder years from now for people to have that same connection to a Maisel that was 8 episodes, dropped overnight, next day it's something else. It doesn't feed that need in you to be connected to something. And it's part of a bigger problem of everything we do sort of disconnects us from people. The way we live disconnects us from people. The way we're serving out our entertainment disconnects us from people. And the fight is to figure out how to reconnect everything. So, I can't say one is hard. Nothing was harder than doing Etoile. Etoile was the hardest show we've ever done, but that was just logistics. But Gilmore was a lot of work, but I don't know that it was harder than Etoile. Like it's just there are just apples and oranges, and we're in a different space now. And I think that TV is trying to figure out who it is and what it wants to be. And I believe that creators and the creative community needs to start taking the creative reins back a little bit. And if we don't do that, then I think we're just going to be seeing a lot of video games, and that's it. And we're not going to see anything else.
Well, on that maudlin note.
So enjoy your day.
But it'll get better.
It'll get better. Thank you again.
We're working
Thank you
to make
for
it
coming.
better.
Please go out and make great art and don't give up.
I hope you enjoyed this special edition of My Hollywood Story. We'll be back with more bonus episodes and brand new interviews very soon. Thank you so much for listening.
My Hollywood Story is a production of Hippolyta Films and Entertainment. It is produced by me, Stacey Wilson Hunt, along with Sonia Slutsky and Wendy Green. Series producers also include Daryl Young and Janet Grayson. Our sound mixer is Luke Tierney, with camera by Ramiro Cantu. My Hollywood Story is edited by Nathaniel Wixon, with original music by Madi Gabriel and Jenny Carr of Moon and Star. Our logo design is by Brad Mitchell. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Champion Turf. My Hollywood Story is sponsored by Mattel Films and recorded at Neue House Hollywood. If you like what you hear, give us a follow, leave a review, and let us know what you think.